Well, welcome to the Business Spotlight series. My name is Tanner O'Brien. I'm a senior partner here at Action Coach in Central Texas. And today I'm sitting down with Teylor Schiefelbein, who is the CEO of Alter Endeavors. Excited to be jumping into some conversation around business, about entrepreneurship overall, about her business specifically, really just going through challenges that, are apparent in the journey of business overall, kind of sharing some best practices, really just share a sneak peek into what it's like to really build and operate a business. So Teylor, I want to just first off say thank you so much for taking the time and being here with me today and being willing to jump into some conversation. But for the audience, let's just start off with a little bit of background, if you would.
Sure.
Give us maybe just like a 10,000 foot overview of kind of your background. We can kind of dive into some specifics as we go through, and tell us, what is Alter Endeavors?
Yeah, happy to be here. Thanks for the invite, Tanner, and share kind of my experience over the years. So my background is in marketing and business management, and Alter Endeavors itself is a digital marketing agency focused on driving sustainable lead generation for small to medium-sized businesses, most often in the home, financial, and medical service industries. So I came, up the company ranks as an operator, doing the execution in the digital marketing department. Then got my hands on actual operations in terms of efficiencies, process, all of that. So now I kind of refer to myself as a marketing operations leader.
I love it. That is absolutely fantastic. I'm really excited to dive into kind of the business, especially with background in marketing operations. I'm sure there's a ton of little nuggets that we can pull out from the conversation. But let's set the stage first. I always like to just kind of set the stage for the audience, as there's especially here in Central Texas, there's a vast array of types of businesses we have an opportunity to have a conversation with. So I always like to just kind of ask the question, generally speaking, around like current ownership structure and kind of what that looks like. So what I mean by this is, are you sole founder? Do you have business partners in your business? Do you have outside investors? Kind of what does that look like, generally speaking, for you and your business?
Yeah, so the business was founded by Nick Alter, who also owns ThriveSide, which I highly recommend you check out as a business owner as well. And then the partner is Aubrey Berkowitz, who is our CRO. And I actually joined the company in 2015 as an intern. So a marketing intern. And I pretty early on, well, I would say about 5 years ago, Nick and I started to have the conversation and acknowledging him as the visionary and myself as the integrator. And so it was a very natural progression over time of, actually bringing that vision to life.
That's beautiful. So as you look at, fast forwarding from intern to where you are today, what does your kind of day-to-day role in the business look like?
That's a lot. It's a long answer, but I would say I'm here to support. Now that our vision and our mission is clear in who we serve and the services that we offer, and I did have that time and space to build process and make it very clear how we go about things. I am in a business development role, working with our strategic partners. I am getting my hands dirty, rolling up my sleeves if there's questions, or because I've really done it all, coming through operations, and I love it. So I would say I've transitioned to working on the business, but I'm still working in the business for a percentage as well, which I'm sure is very, very common for small business owners.
Absolutely. And is Nick still pretty involved in the business?
Yeah, so I would say now in the last 6 months since he's transitioned into ThriveSide, which is more business consulting and marketing consulting, we are now kind of the operating arm of who he engages with. He essentially educates them on how marketing, sales, and operations are all supposed to sync. because we spent years realizing when we're engaging with business owners, they were looking for marketing to do a lot more than it's supposed to do.
Mm.
And there was a disconnect in terms of handing off those leads generated to sales and seeing them actually taken care of and operations delivering. So he's doing a lot of education and coaching on that side. And then him and I connect to make sure that we're actually able to fulfill the execution that he's talking through with them. So yes, he's highly involved, but just in a different capacity than he was when he was wearing the CEO cap.
Very cool. I love that. So let's, I want to go back into the business itself. I always like to ask just generally, and you've kind of already touched base on it a little bit, but who does the business serve? Kind of who is, the way I like to frame it is if I'm sitting in the audience, right, and I'm watching this and I love the conversation, and I'm curious, am I a good fit for working with Alter Endeavors? Or do I know somebody that would be a good fit? So just out of curiosity, how would you kind of define that? How might we be able to answer that question for the audience?
Yeah, so I, at this stage, can confidently say that we best serve B2C service-based businesses and have had the most impact and great data to prove it, specifically in home service companies like blinds and drapery, HVAC, roofing, and medical service companies like orthopedic offices, things like that. Those who are looking for consumers to find them, with via Google, PPC, SEO, that sort of thing, making that connection for them, and educating their target audience about what makes their business unique, just as, we'll be talking about for Alter Endeavors today.
Mm, I love that. And so being in the marketing space in general, I am quite aware that there's a lot of quote unquote competition out there. So I'm curious, how do you all compare, or how do you all view the competitors in the marketplace in general as you look at kind of why your clients choose to work with y'all instead of somebody else that may be out there doing something similar?
Sure. So I'm actually in a marketing agency book club, and I just got off of our call with that. And we're currently reading Good to Great by Jim
Mm,
Collins, a classic. And that book really emphasizes not concerning yourself too much about what the competition is doing. And I couldn't agree more. I feel we've done the necessary research to build a strategy, to determine our pricing, how we're positioning our services, those really foundational pieces. But if every day, we were checking social, their websites, you just get wrapped up and you start pulling away from what likely makes you unique in the way, maybe in the type of services you offer or how you offer them or go about delivering them. But I can say that we've gotten feedback from clients who have engaged with other agencies naturally, and I can say it's often obvious they have some trust issues. And from that, it's allowed me to, pinpoint what we do differently. And we want long-term, mutually beneficial relationships. I want to ask about my clients' family and what their goals are and have a relationship that I'm looking forward to that monthly call. And same goes with the rest of the team. We don't want it to just be transactional. And so because of that foundation, we're not the agency that's going to say yes to everything, all the shiny object ideas that you have. We might be saying, yes, you could technically pay for us to do this, but it's not in your best interest.
mm,
So, and we don't have like annual contracts, super long term, that kind of thing. And I think that's allowed us to build trust to say, hey, if it's not working, you'll know from us and we can pivot. Because we want us to be able to get on that call and know, thoroughly that the strategy we're setting out to implement is generating business, rather than beat around the bush or try to hide the data. And I can tell that that's not the case. I feel like it's shifting, just in being in this agency book club that I am with other agency owners that are setting out to do very similar things. It's starting to be more relationship based on the whole, I think, but we gotta keep pushing forward so that clients have that expectation.
I love it. And this leads me directly to the topic of marketing. And I absolutely love talking about marketing in general. Excited to kind of bring it up as I don't know, maybe a bit of a loaded topic for our conversation today. But marketing is that thing that it's vital to every business. Got to have it in there. But most business owners I've had a conversation with, unless they have a big background in marketing, it tends to be an area that they kind of stumble in.
Mhm.
So I always like to just have some conversation, talk about what successful businesses are doing when it comes to marketing. And this is going to be maybe a loaded question, but in general, what is your philosophy to marketing?
Philosophy. Yeah, that is, it's a loaded question.
I don't
Um,
usually get to ask it that way, but in today's case, I wanted to make sure that we ask a little bit differently around marketing.
Yeah, well, I think it's kind of an extension of how we operate in terms of being relationship based. Because in this day and age, unless your business is creating a new category, aka the first of its kind, consumers have options. And they have a lot of options that are probably very similar in terms of price and convenience. And so if there's low-hanging fruit or opportunities to set yourself above in that way, by all means, take it. But more often than not, it's how it's all positioned into a story. And that story, people are the base of it. So, when our clients, as I said, are, maybe a roofing company or HVAC, I can't say that I am personally passionate about that subject matter, but knowing the business owners, knowing the team and how they go about their lives and just being generally nice, giving, gracious people, that's what makes the relationship. And that is what builds loyalty to one business over another, is the people. And if you're expecting your customers to ask those questions and go digging to find out, they're not, they're making very quick decisions. So you have to frame even if you're a small business, it's not just something for the major players to do. And it's not, once you do that foundational work, then it's just distributing it, in different ways and keeping it interesting. And people want to see behind the scenes and see smiling faces and types of the content we produce. It's always people-based content that does the best. And a lot of these businesses, they're out in the field. They don't have time, to put together this content or write these blog posts or run these campaigns. And that's where we come in. We get to know you, what your services are, what makes them unique. And then we wrap that in a story and we put it out in these multitude of different ways where your audience actually is. Don't waste our time, having a Pinterest profile for the roofers kind of thing. And, and so that way, when you're getting that lead, they already are educated about, their mind is already partially made up. And from a sales perspective, you're not having to go through all of that education to position you why this company over another. But something I really want to emphasize is we are creating all of this educational content and driving brand awareness, generating leads. But we're also looking to our clients to communicate how those leads pan out, deliver the services that marketing promised them, and essentially close the loop between marketing, sales, and operations so that you have a brand advocate. So if we're doing all of this work up front and then that prospect engages with your sales team and, gets the ick, then you might be blaming marketing, and maybe there's a disconnect between the story we're telling and how it's actually delivered. So I love to ask those hard questions really early on and say, I want to set you up for success. I want this engagement to be successful. So I am going to do a little detective work. Our team is, to find out if we're both able to live up to our, to our promises on both sides.
I love that. There's so many questions I want to ask. So if we could, I want to stay on this topic just for a little bit longer before we move on. Um, the uh, the concept of marketing and sales kind of together.
Sure.
I'm curious on kind of your philosophy. I think you've already kind of alluded a little bit to it in closing the loop and things like that, from marketing to sales to operations. But if you look at marketing and sales, let's say that's a spectrum of 100% all the way down to actually somebody saying, yes, I'm going to buy your product, service, whatever it is. Uh, when you look at that, being kind of the in totality to that point, what percent is marketing and what percent do you believe is sales?
Mm. So I think that's a somewhat of a loaded question because, for instance, the services that we provide, one is SEO, so search engine optimization, and we are targeting prospects that are actively searching for your service. That's much different than running a Facebook campaign where we're just targeting people who may like your brand. It might not be at the time of need. It could be also likes these topics on Facebook, engages with these pages, things like that. So when it's sought out from the prospect, and we're wanting to make sure the business is found for what they do as opposed to who they are, then I think marketing plays a massive role, because it's borderline sales.
Hmm.
Because otherwise, it's highly unlikely that those prospects would ever even find you. Whereas, well, yeah, they both play a very. I would say if I had 40% marketing, because I don't want to give the impression that all the work is done, with marketing, and they're going to sign on the dotted line on that first conversation. There are details that we're likely not getting into, such as, what your contracts, your agreements look like, the pricing. There's a lot of follow-up questions there, but marketing has ability to create a lot of just passive content, for the business, that I'm always asking, what are frequently asked questions that come up in the sales process that we can address right up front on your website, so that you're that much closer to engaging with them, and it's sitting in the back of their mind. What are our competitors doing that there is that foundational competitor research that you could be doing? How can we work that into your process? At Alter Endeavors, for example, on any email that I'm sending introductory, with anybody, they'll receive a welcome deck. And to me, this kind of verges on crossing the line of marketing to sales, because it's just our story. It's about our team, a list of services we offer. It's not any hard push, or it's just educational. And I'm like, let's put that everywhere we can, just so people can see the people that they'll be engaging with. And it just makes it feel more human, more comfortable, less transactional. And those are the happier customers in the long run. And those are your advocates, as somebody who's just like, I need the service, I don't want to hear any details, that happens. But I feel like this day and age, we appreciate just some engaging transactions that feel good.
Yeah, absolutely love everything that you said. Like full stop, pause for everybody that's watching this. Go back, rewatch all of this stuff on marketing. It's like incredible the nuggets you can pull out of this here. Kind of what prompted that question is I had seen some statistics that like the average consumer today is like something like 80% of the way through the sales process before they ever even talk to a salesperson because
Yeah,
there's
that's
so
not
much
surprising.
content and everything out there. And then just by I don't know personal experience, seeing the more you can get objections or frequently asked questions or just all these things that sales traditionally would have to kind of overcome in a sales conversation, and being able to get it out there so people can actually overcome those beforehand, which really just gets into marketing, which is really cool. And that's, I think, a lot different than it has been, take it 5 years ago or longer.
Right.
So that's what prompted the question. Absolutely love everything you shared, because I think it's totally in alignment with some of the things that I've at least experienced on our end. But we've talked a ton about marketing. We've talked about the business and all of that kind of stuff. Let's take a step back, talk a little bit more about your journey, and then we'll kind of keep things rolling here. Um, when we look at, getting into this business, choosing, you said 2015, moved into being an intern to start, kind of continue to graduate up, all of that kind of stuff. What drew you to, I don't know, this line of work? What drew you to starting with Alter Endeavors? Kind of walk us through a little bit of what that journey looked like for you.
Sure, sure. So previous to joining Alter Endeavors, I was doing marketing for a business in the oil and gas industry. And while I loved the ability to travel and there was a lot of perks that afforded me, I, again, couldn't say I was passionate about oil and gas. And but I knew I was passionate about storytelling. There wasn't so much an opportunity in that role to really push in that direction. So when I saw an internship opportunity with Alter Endeavors that was working with different clients over several different industries to essentially help create and disseminate their story, I hopped on that opportunity and have found it's a very creative space. There's a lot of opportunity and open-ended things where people, especially business owners, they are so used to saying the same elevator pitch, that I opened with over and over again, that sometimes it feels like, is that interesting anymore? Are people wanting to hear this? And so I'm the advocate. It's like, yes, tell me more, like, and about your family and what trips have you taken? And, how can we build this into your story that people can connect with? I love just finding those avenues when initially they think like people don't want to hear this, and I'm like, I can prove to you, in the data that they do. And then so I was in the digital marketing department doing execution, then moved into strategy, found that I really liked to do research within the industry, competitors, put together exactly where they should be, what platforms they should be on, what top content pillars they should be talking about, because we didn't want content to be sell. We want it to be a healthy balance of celebrate and sell. And so moved from coordinator to strategist and then director of the department. And then I started kind of obsessing over efficiencies and process. And I'm all about how can we work smarter, not harder. And I'll share any of those nuggets with anybody, including our clients, and in terms of, have you thought about having a frequently asked questions page so that you don't have to send these emails, twice a day kind of thing. So once I brought that mentality to the business, it was a natural transition to looking at the other departments and being like, I have thoughts of how things are being carried out. So then I moved into the COO role, where it was all about profitability and standardizing things and growing the team, and then it kind of enveloped the CEO role. But we're a small agency. We didn't need a COO and a CEO. So that was kind of just phase one in terms of getting involved and learning about the rest of the team, our services across digital marketing into website design and development and website management, and realizing I was very excited just at the prospect of engaging with the team on the whole. I think we have incredible people who are very good at what they do and enjoyable to work with. And I think our longstanding clients would stay the same. So that went from operations and now into leadership. So that's kind of how I say marketing operations leader.
I love it. And I've got some questions around that. But before we jump into it, on this journey, especially being in kind of an operational role, growing through and having to shift from kind of where you started to now we're managing a business. There's a lot of business things that have to be learned. What's been like the biggest business lesson that you've had to learn as, getting into COO and CEO role?
I think balancing the concept of COGS, cost of goods sold,
Mm.
actually buckling down and looking at how much time does it take for our team to deliver our services? How is that time being spent? Is there a more efficient yet impactful way to go about that? Because it's very easy if I'm being transactional minded and just profitability and not balancing the relationship, being mutually beneficial. It's very easy to say, spend less time on that client. We need to increase profitability. Well, then what's going to happen? We're likely going to lose that engagement because we're not performing. But if I were also to say the opposite, okay, we need to throw all the resources we have at this client, then I look back and I'm like, okay, well, they're happy, but it's still not mutually beneficial. So how can we balance that in a way that also allows our team to grow and lead the lives that I want them and they want to live as well? So it's kind of that push and pull, and okay, what time needs to be spent? How are we spending that time? It can't just be all data driven. We have to have that layer of empathy and understanding and context to really set our goals. Because I really want our team to look at the engagements and have very clear outlines in terms of what they're supposed to be doing and how they're supposed to be delivering, but know that they have freedom in how that's executed. And I'm not going to be, knocking on their, I mean, we're a remote company, so there are no doors to knock on, but I'm not going to be pounding down the door to say, oh, we spent another hour on this engagement, that kind of thing. So it's a balance of data and feeling. And that is, I would say, operations and leadership, in a nutshell.
That's a really good lesson. And before we jump into some of the rapid fire to start wrapping up, I always like to ask a little bit about team and leadership and things like that. So I think where I'd love to take it today and just kind of get your thoughts on is training and educating your team. I believe personally it's an area that's really important, especially when we look at how do we retain great team members, things like that. So when you look at the team that you're working with, what are the areas of training do you believe your people need the most as you look at the next now 6 to 12 months, whether it's because it's where your business is heading, or maybe it's just, a function of kind of the business climate today, which is different than it's been, over the last several years. But where do you see the biggest opportunity for your team in education and growth?
Yeah. So if I were it's kind of two different directions. If I were to speak technically, SEO is a huge opportunity for small businesses. And I think years ago it was purposefully mystified in terms of like what it really meant, and how to go about it. And now I think we're able to say, hey, we can train you how to optimize your website. Absolutely. Like, you can do it. Is that the best use of your time? as a business owner, or if you're in sales, likely not. So we're not trying to make it seem like it's you can't get a look behind the curtain. We have a very educational webinar on our website about SEO that I highly encourage because there's a lot of takeaways that you can implement right off the bat on your own for free, kind of thing. And we're always learning more when it comes to SEO, because Google's algorithm is always changing. So they are the actual boss in terms of how we go about delivering that service. And so if we're not staying up to date on those things, then we're doing a disservice to our clients to not deliver the exceptional service that we're looking to. And then everything with AI as it relates to generating content, and how Google goes about ranking websites and things like that. So there's a lot of upkeep there. And so we have internally a continued education goal. So when I'm one-on-one meeting with the team, we're looking at that. How is that going? And it's not necessarily, oh, you didn't meet your goal. It's let's talk about, share with me what you're learning, because I need to stay abreast as well with the latest, because as soon as there's a separation, from myself of operations, as I'm out here marketing and business development and sales for our company, that's not good either. So I think we definitely hold each person they know what realm technically, they need to stay up to date with and continue learning, share that knowledge with the rest of the team. No, it's not like another role is expected to be an expert in SEO, but it certainly doesn't help, or it doesn't hurt, excuse me, for the left hand to know what the right hand is doing. And then when it comes, I think, to general like management or leadership, or just being a solid team member, or communication, for example, that's a lot of one that comes up often for new hires, is getting them confident, the team confident to engage with clients, with each other. We're a fully remote company, so we don't have the luxury of saying, come along in the office and shadow for the day. It's joining calls, recording yourself, but ultimately remembering this is not a rehearsal. You're not performing. You are a person. You have your unique experiences. So do clients. Connect with them. And that doesn't really require training. I think we have a list that I've put together. I think it's called the fallback doc. So if a client starts asking questions that you don't know how to answer, the coaching has been, say you're not sure, you'll talk to somebody to get an answer and get back to them. I would much rather anybody on the team do that than make promises that we can't keep, or lie, something like that. So I think a lot of that side, not the non-technical side, comes from doing, and sometimes failing, sometimes getting off a call and saying that didn't go well and reflecting on what you can do better. But that's been my personal experience. I'm like, I wish I could extract all of those and just bestow, but you gotta kind of go through it, and then you'll come out the other side and realize, I'm okay, it's okay, as long as you're not lying, or deceitful, and then that's okay with me as a leader as well. We'll work through it. We'll clarify, get answers, nothing we can't recover from. And those are the type of relationships we want to build. So so 90% of our engagements we've ever had, because clients come in knowing that expectation, or just having that human element, it's no problem, and they're very transactional minded, or I need an answer now kind of thing. It's like, well, we're not meant for each other.
I absolutely love there's a lot of lessons that can be learned in the process of failure. There was,
Absolutely.
oh gosh, I can't remember where I first heard the quote, but it was something along the lines of there are some lessons that we just have to experience in order to fully understand them. And
Mhm.
that's kind of that. Yeah, I can give you the knowledge of all the mistakes I've made and gone through it, but sometimes you just need to experience and go through it and go, ah, that's what I should have done
Right.
differently.
And we're ignorant to think that we can pre-prepare or train to such a degree that it's avoidable.
Yeah, the faster we can teach him to look for the improvements that can be made, I think that's where real growth and learning starts to happen. So, well, I know we've covered a ton of information, and I want to, first off, thank you for allowing us to kind of go a little bit longer today. But before as we wrap up, got a couple of rapid fire questions that I'd love to ask as we start to round out, and then one specific question I always like to end these conversations on. So quick top of head answers for each of these next four questions. I know we could go deep on any of them, but we'll go top of head answers for them for these today. First one here is, what is your key to success?
Hmm. Um, I'm an action taker. I think with a third door mentality. So, and I think the team around me as well. You know, we're problem solvers. We're looking for solutions rather than simply dreamers. You know, who don't bring it into reality. So I think just having a action taker mindset as an entire team has allowed for success.
Love it. What's one piece of advice you would give to other business owners or CEOs?
Be an action taker. If there isn't enough time or you don't know where to start, then it's likely you're chasing too many different things or you need to delegate because there's always there has to be enough time to do the key things you need to do.
Love it. What's one book that you are reading now or have read most recently?
I just finished Good to Great for the agency book community book club, so highly recommend that one.
Excellent. And if you had to choose only one area in your entire business that you could immediately put some magic into and it improved overnight, where would you put that magic?
So we, over the years, we're at a point where we've simplified our services and streamlined things and kind of knocked away the shiny objects from everybody taking too much action in different directions, which I don't think was harmful. But now that we've streamlined, it's closing that loop, you know, and making sure that sales, marketing, and operations are all in alignment with what we are currently doing. So if I could magically have all of those assets be updated and communication disseminated, I would, but it's all part of the process.
Love it. So before we get to the final question of the day, for those that are watching that have enjoyed the conversation, want to learn more about the business, want to connect with you, follow you, all that kind of stuff, where can we send them for more information? What's the best way to get in contact and connect?
So for general information, I would suggest visiting our website, ultraendeavors.com. As I said before, if you'd like to learn more about SEO or Google PPC strategies to apply to your business, we have on-demand webinars available and are continuously running live webinars that I think are a great source of information. Then feel free to add me on LinkedIn. I just asked if you know, come from this medium to let me know in a message as I get, you know, some irrelevant requests, but would love to connect personally, answer any questions. We're definitely more happy to give away information rather than, you know, lock it. So.
Beautiful. For those that are watching, all of that will be in the description of the video below. So make sure that as we wrap up, go down, click the links, check everything out, check out some of those webinars, make sure you connect with Teylor, all of those things, because that's what these things are about, right? Having some conversation, growing our businesses together, and having an opportunity to connect here. So as we wrap up, I'd love to finish on one final question. And that question is this: what is most inspiring to you today?
I think the team, you know, it's so important to have the right people on the bus. And I feel strongly that we do, and they're just commitment to what we're here to do and here to build. And I think all of our clients and feel, that as well. So they definitely inspire me to continue to push forward.
Beautiful. Taylor, thank you so much for taking the time. This has been an absolute pleasure to just have a conversation, talk a little bit about marketing. I personally, I love talking about marketing and the different things that are going along with it. And I know that benefits a lot of different businesses out there. So thank you so much for just taking the time, allowing to share some of your knowledge, your expertise, your journey into, the role that you play today, just everything in general. So thank you so much for taking the time.
Yeah, it was a pleasure. Thanks so much, Tanner.